New wine, new life, new hope, newness. I want to speak a word of restoration over your life. First, I want to talk about what restoration is and what God wants to do to restore things in your life. We tend to think of restoration as a placing back to where one once was. I was in one place, I fell, and we tend to think of restoration as putting them back there. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. For restoration is not merely a rewinding back in time, as it were. It is to return a thing, a person, a place back to its original purpose. It is impossible to speak about restoration without speaking about purpose. For restoration comes as a result of purpose. And it's impossible to talk about purpose without talking about He who makes the purpose and calls. I just want to speak about three things and I'll be done. The word says that we are the clay and God is the potter. He's the potter. We are the clay. We have been prepared and molded and designed at the behest and the orchestration of the molder. For many, it is written in the book of Proverbs, are the plans in the heart of a man, but it is the purpose of God that will stand. And so we understand at the first instance, there is the potter who is molding the vessel. The potter whose hands are on the wheel and whose hands are on the unformed clay, forming something out of nothing, creating from the conception of his mind. And what potter sits down to form a vessel without knowing exactly what he would form and knowing exactly what it would be formed for? Do you know that you were formed by God for a purpose? You were not formed by your mommy and your daddy. You were formed in your mommy's womb, but you were not formed by your mommy's womb. And so we start with the creator, the potter, whose hand is on the vessel. And then we move to the vessel being shaped for a purpose, for a season, for a reason. I almost think about China that may only be pulled out once a year, but it has a purpose. And everybody knows that that china is kept in the cabinet for a specific time. And when the day of jubilation is coming, all the family has gathered and the food has been brought and the festivities has been begun. The china that had been laid up in the cabinets for just this purpose is brought out. And I wonder if we are like the china stored up for a specific reason. Paul writes that we are the workmanship of God. The workmanship. I'm going to come back to that, but I just want to mention that we're the workmanship of God. And so we've gone from the potter whose hand is on the wheel and simultaneously on the clay, forming it and molding it for a purpose, to the purpose for which the vessel is being formed. And now we come to the place of restoration. But you said, wait a minute, Darrell, you didn't talk about the fall. How can we talk about a restoration without the fall? Because he restored you before you fell. Huh. Remember when Jesus is seated with his disciples at what we call the Last Supper, but they perceived it not. And he begins to speak with them and commune with them. And he tells them that there will come an advocate who will comfort them and protect them and guide them. And he begins to tell them, I don't call you a servant anymore, but I call you friend. And in all of this that he discusses in the general, he goes from the general to the personal. He turns straight to Peter and he says, Peter, Satan demanded to have you, to sift you like wheat. But I prayed. Jesus prayed. The high priest prayed. I prayed that your faith would not fail. And when you've returned to the brethren, that you'll strengthen them. Jesus was telling Peter before the fall that the restoration had occurred. See, even though we are surprised by the events that happen in our lives, we sometimes shock ourselves by our own bad behavior. But God already knew before the beginning of time. And when he prepared the vessel, he had prepared the restoration. Do you know that God has restored you before the addiction, before the prison sentence, before the divorce, before the estrangement, before the bankruptcy? He had already restored you. For he had seen, and yea, even declared, the end from the beginning. And so the song says, make me your vessel. Make me whatever you desire me to be. And pour into me new wine, new life, new strength, new hope, new purpose, new awareness of who I am in you. Bring out of me what you prepared me for from the beginning of time.